Welcome to this midweek message for the 8th of February. I find it surprising that sometimes something I've heard hundreds of times, words suddenly seem to jump out at me. Something like that happened at the communion service at Lyme Regis last Sunday. Hearing the familiar words of the prayer for the church militant in the Book of Common Prayer version, I was struck by a couple of the petitions. Beseeching thee, that is God, to inspire continually the universal church with a spirit of truth, unity and concord. The next petition expands on the theme of truth and unity and adds love. It reads, "And grant that all they that do confess thy holy name may agree in the truth of thy holy word and live in unity and godly love." I had already been thinking about what I wanted to say this week, perhaps about our observance of Lent, individually and together in the life of our churches. There were issues even in the early church, where different members of the church adopted different practices. Paul, writing to the Romans, encourages them first to be fully convinced, persuaded in an older translation, in their own minds, to feel in themselves that what they were doing was right. I read a couple of verses in part of what Paul says. Some judge one day to be better than another, while others judge all days to be alike. Let all be fully convinced in their own minds. Those who observe the day observe it in honour of the Lord. Also, those who eat in honour of the Lord, since they give thanks to God, while those who abstain in honour of the Lord and give thanks to God. So Paul is saying what attitude we adopt is as important as the actual things that we do. Let me give a trivial example. You decide to give up chocolate for Lent, so decline the chocolate biscuits available with coffee after the church service. You then see another member of the church congregation eating them. Are you tempted to criticise the other person, or will they be tempted and try to persuade you to have a biscuit? Neither of those approaches is helpful. Respect the other person's position. Take no as no if the person declines. And there's also a distinction between what we do in private and what we do in public, as it were. Several years ago, after attending an Ash Wednesday service, I was doing some shopping on the way home, and one of the local shopkeepers, who I knew pretty well, in the local greengrocer's it was then, noticed the black smudge on my forehead. I did explain why it was there and where it had come from, but it made me think of Jesus' words in Matthew chapter 6. He is speaking in relation to fasting, but it could apply to anything else as well. This is what he writes, what Matthew records about the Sermon on the Mount. And whenever you fast, do not look dismal like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces so as to show others that they are fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that your fasting may be seen not by others, but by your Father who is in secret. and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. I think these days I would be more inclined to wipe the ashes off my face before venturing out in public. But there is a counter-argument of saying that things like that, or an older tradition of people carrying a Bible or a hymn book on their way to church to make it clear where they were going, was seen to be a witness. I suppose it's true that when I've been on holiday, seeing somebody purposely looking as if they're going to church and purposefully walking in a particular direction has been helpful, especially if I don't know exactly where the church is or which door of the church I'm supposed to go in for the Sunday service. So as we come to the period of Lent, I hope we will make our own decisions about things that we do privately, but we'll also be able to join in some of the corporate activities the church provides, whether it's using the prayers suggested day by day from the diocese, perhaps using the diocesan Lent study, or in other ways. But let us also respect one another as we make our own choices according to our particular circumstances.